time around. Actually, we are going to see the first ban being Trundle there against Xaxus in the top lane. There's the Caitlyn ban as well. So actually up until now, following the bans here, SK from their last encounter, the last one last time was Kassadin. ROCCAT have banned out Pantheon and Renekton.
So Elise is still up, and I also wonder now if SK are going to force ROCCAT to either ban a Vayne or consider it. I mean, Kassadin's still available, they have to get rid of it. Yeah. So Vayne is up. If SK sees the opportunity, they could go for it. They could also first pick a Thresher. There's a number of possibilities for both of these teams.
Lulu left open in this one, and they beat Millennium with Jezus on Lulu in that mid lane. 8-2-8, you finish with that one. I don't really see it that much as a Freddy champion in top lane like we've seen for Fnatic with Soaz taking that one. So pretty sure that will be Jezus in the mid lane. Over on the other side though, Aatrox coming out for Xaxus and a Lucian pickup for Celiva.
So Celiva's going to get the AD carry that he's played an immense amount over the course of the split. 6 games played, 4 of those are victories. So he's going to be in a comfort pick. What I like about this pick and ban phase from ROCCAT is they banned away Renekton, which is Freddy's most played champion in 8 games. They also took away his Aatrox, who he has played phenomenally with in the games leading up to this. And because SK banned out Trundle, it means Freddy's going to have to default to either a new champion or maybe pick up the likes of a Shyvana, which he has also played a multitude of times.
What are SK going to add into this one? Looks like we will be seeing Sivir, and if that Kayle is locked in, which it will be, that will go over to Enrated. We saw them playing the Kayle support actually against Alliance. Enrated ended that game 0-0-13.
So if you look at that previous game where Gambit were running Kayle, he's not going to have the same damage that Kayle's putting up, but because the ultimate no longer has a mana cost, it's going to allow SK to really have a strong start. In addition to the intervention, they've got Wild Growth. So if anybody is at risk of dying, you're going to prevent all that damage. Oh look, they're going to die again, you're going to Wild Growth them. There's a lot of I save my carry available for SK, and when you consider they're quite focused around getting Candy Panda fed and ahead, that's a good save your AD carry composition so far.
What are ROCCAT going to add into this one then? Wukong is a champion that they have visited a couple of times in here actually, and by a couple I actually mean just once. That was against the Super Hot Crew in their loss a little bit earlier on last week actually, where they finished 2-5-6 was Jankos on that one, and taking Thresh. What a massive surprise. Vander on Thresh.
Now who would have guessed that one? That should be the 11th time that he's now playing Thresh this split. He's got a very good record with it, and I think, if I'm going to be very honest, in the last couple of games, Vander's not been able to get his AD carry kills, and he's going to need to make sure he lands some very impactful hooks against this Sivir and Kayle lane early on, because once they get their ultimates, it's going to be much more difficult for Lucian and Thresh to actually kill and stick to Sivir and Kayle.
Final 2 picks here coming out for SK Gaming were Evelynn for the jungle. Of course, played it in their loss against Gambit just yesterday, where Svenskeren went 3-6-2, but also, importantly maybe even more, against Alliance, where they picked up that great win last week. And then Jax in the top lane for Freddy 122.
So the Jax versus Aatrox is a matchup that we've seen. I think we've seen it yesterday, if I recall correctly. In the early levels, Jax is going to have some difficulty dealing with that Aatrox. He needs to get some items up. The one thing that I like about SK's composition is they've got damage threats from 4 of their champions and even their jungler. Evelynn tends to build a lot of damage herself. So as Sivir's damage and sort of, raw output of damage falls off in this super late game, Evelynn and Jax is going to scale up. Kayle's even going to potentially become a bit of a threat depending on how Enrated builds him. So SK have got good, peak power points at multiple stages during the course of the game.
And final pick in here for ROCCAT was Ziggs, a champion which has been both very, very good for Overpower. The 6-0-4 scoreline against Gambit in their win comes to mind, and also hardly having an impact against the Wolves, 0-1-2. Not the performance that Overpower will be looking for here today. And he's obviously going to be up against Jezus' Lulu in that mid lane. And Overpower, he's got to perform today.
So this is a matchup that, as you said, we've seen a couple times before, and Overpower in the very early levels will have a little bit of an advantage over Lulu. Lulu needs to get basically level 3, have access to all of her abilities, that then she can start bullying and poking Ziggs down. But because of Ziggs' immense range, he actually has tools to deal with her. Farm from safely back. It's a matchup where you can get away a little less punished than you would if you were playing other champions. You know, a champion like Kayle needs to get in close range and farm. Ziggs, you can sit a little further back. The one thing that I like about ROCCAT's composition is they've got tools to control waves, And if they can get themselves into a split push, letting Zazus go with that Aatrox, assuming he can get ahead a little bit early, I think they can have some good map control.
Well, guys, with the champions now selected, let's see who you pick to win on LOLesports.com. According to the numbers, 59% of you are behind ROCCAT. Very, very close vote.
Both of these teams have been struggling this week. I think SK still looked very good coming into Super Week. They have faltered somewhat in their games. ROCCAT, however, they've had back-to-back weeks where you've sort of gone, this isn't the team we're used to seeing. And I think this is going to be a big confidence boost for whichever team picks up the victory.
Let's not forget as well that SK Gaming seem to be ROCCAT's kryptonite. They haven't beaten them up until now. We're going to find out if they can this time around, though. SK Gaming versus ROCCAT as we jump into game. We'll see how this one all unfolds and see if ROCCAT can do the business over SK for the first time in the season.
Well, the time is now. They're 1-2 on Super Week. This is ROCCAT's last game of Week 8. SK Gaming still have one more later today. And the confidence boost that it would give them would be immensely useful. I think for SK, if you look at their team comp, once again, we've got a lot of mobility. Siva, Lulu, Eve, you know, she throws on a W. She's going to be chasing everybody around. If ROCCAT are unable to get some poke from Ziggs onto SK, I feel like their 5v5 power is going to be overall lower than that of SK. Yes, you've got great combination of Aatrox and Wukong, but Ziggs doesn't necessarily fit that. Even if you've got Thresh throwing himself into SK, you know, Lucian, there's a lot of risk of Lucian just being run down. So I think there's a lot of onus and a lot of pressure on ROCCAT to get poke before a good team fight.
So level 1 stacking up pretty standard. All things considered, waiting for those wards to become available. The only difference that we see is actually the sweeping lens for Overpower in the mid lane. We know that he likes to build his Ziggs a little bit different to others.
Yes, he does. He's actually built the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith in 2 of his previous Ziggs games. Earns him a lot of gold because he allows that passive just to, you know, max out. And then he kills a wolf camp every minute or 2 minutes and just get maximum gold efficiency from that item. The fact that he's got the sweeping lens, I think, is to deal with the Evelynn a little bit more. Deny some of the vision that SK are going to be putting down, and potentially just trying to play a little bit of a control game against this Eve, because the psychological pressure that Evelynn puts on a team is very, very difficult.
Is that mid lane Ziggs versus Lulu, and see junglers get things underway with Svenskund doing his blue buff, Jankos doing the red buff on his top side of the jungle, and then they'll just switch things over. That bottom lane, of course, this time around is Siva Kale versus Lucian Thresh.
So Lucian Thresh is the standard LCS lane. It's the #1 and #2 most picked champions here in Europe. You look at Candy Panda and Enrated, they're playing now a unique pick. This is the second time we've seen the Kale, and I think the poke that can come down from Candy Panda and Enrated is good enough to keep Sullivan and Vander at bay, as long as Candy Panda and Enrated stay, you know, grouped, as long as they focus the right target. You've also got to remember, Enrated's got a heal in that lane. So it is sustained versus non-sustained, meaning Salvo and Vander need to press any advantage they gain, otherwise it's just going to be wiped out thanks to Kale's healing powers in a little bit of time.
Saw the junglers there for a brief moment, moving on to the bottom side of the map, and see if they go for anything at level 3 with those double buffs on. See where they'll be actually pressuring. Mid lane, hard to really lock down with that speed out of Lulu and the ability to jump off the satchel charge from Overpower on Ziggs. We'll see where that focus comes in. I'm expecting Jankos here, you know, to just say, okay, lanes are pretty good here at the start for us. I'm going to farm up, get to 6 as fast as I can.
I think both of the junglers have to do that. Because of the fact that both Wukong and Evelynn are very lackluster in their ganks before having their ultimates available, means that we're most likely going to see it, unless the team gets very overextended. I also think if I were Jankos, I would probably want to get the Ziggs or the Aatrox a little bit ahead. They've got tools that they can deal with their opponent in a 1v1 scenario, so if they can get an early advantage, it can work out for them. Zazus, he's got his Dark Flight, he's got Flash, he's very overextended, but he's got so many tools to get away if Sven were to come in.
And is actually going to be recalling from this one. You can never be too careful when there's an Evelynn on the other side of the team. As such, he will just be recalling straight out from now on. Coming back in with Doran's Blade added to the Doran Shield, so pretty similar to what a lot of these top laners have actually been going for. Earlier kind of trio of Dorans to keep the lane stage strong.
Yeah, we see the first pink ward's gone down just above Jankos' current position. And what I like about a pink ward like this, especially in the very early game, is it's quite difficult and quite risky to go in and take that down at this stage. You know, Sven really has to commit to a counter gank to find the ward and to move around. So ROCCAT are going to have this vision of that entrance for quite a while, quite a long time. And the efficiency and that information that you buy for the cost of the ward is very, very good. We'll keep an eye on how long it lasts. There is also a pink ward in Zaz's hands. I think if Zaz is going to push the wave out, he'll probably put that pink ward down in the river and just give him that extra forewarning of knowing when Svenskaren's coming up.
Moving into that one, are they going to spot him? They're not at this point. This could be a little bit dangerous for Freddy. There is the decoy in, and it's going to all of a sudden pop up. Freddy going to go pretty low, will leap strike away. There's the dark flight in. Freddy has to flash.
Very well played there. Freddy was overextended. Jankos comes in and he punishes him. I think the fact that Freddy saved his flash until the knockup was available was the right thing to do. Was able to leap to a minion, then flash away from the knockup, but flash is down. So if Freddy pushes that wave out once again, then Jankos can just rinse and repeat. You've got that slow from Aatrox, you've got the knockup as well, if he can land it. And there's the heals we were talking about. I think Candy Pan and Rated have already got some control of this lane, thanks to the very long range on that Boomerang Blade, and the fact that any damage that's been taken by Sullivan Vander has been healed up. They've still got their potions available. So that's how well they're playing this lane. All of that sustain and that sticking power is still available to them.
Yeah, actually Candy Pan running low on mana here. He's had plenty of time to be throwing out that Boomerang Blade over towards Sullivan. Actually, they're starting to back away. Evelyn's just to the top side there by the raids, just to get vision down, though, to make sure that ROCCAT don't try anything sneaky in the early stages.
Yeah, and we talked about how the pink wards are going to be very important for ROCCAT. Exactly like we said, Zazas, he's pushed the wave up, he's got that pink ward in the river. What I like about the placements is that Zazas cannot get ganked from behind, because if Evelyn walks through the bottom river entrance by the raid camp, it's going to get spotted by that pink ward, and the ward that he's got in the river, it's going to allow Zazas to extend quite deeply and try to punish Freddy. Sven is level 6, so it's kind of soft CC. The slow from Kale and the slow from Eve, they would really have to hit hard on Sullivan to kill him. Doesn't look like they're going to go for any sort of game.
No, Sven's just going to recall from that one. Pick up a couple of items and get back into his jungle path. In the top lane, we did see Freddy actually picking up a Vamp Scepter as his first item. Of course, moving up to that Blade of the Ruin King, but probably more importantly to give him that extra bit of sustain in this lane. He does have a slight CS lead over that of Zazas at this point.
Yeah, Zazas right now. We haven't really seen both of these top laners trading or fighting at all. Zazas just defending his pink ward. Basically just farm lane. Freddy with some good poke. But I want to see how this is going to work out. Sven, again, this would have to be a tower dive, but you can see Jesus is roaming top lane. This is something that Jesus is doing more and more in the recent weeks. And there is a tower dive potential, but again, it can go horribly wrong. We've seen Aatrox revive, get kills themselves.
Yes, Gambit comes to mind when you think about that one. Zazas there has Svenskun in the lane with him, but really how much of a problem will it be? Freddy is going to clear out that pink ward, give Svenskun a little bit more breathing room, but because of that, it was kind of obvious. And Jankos has moved up now onto this top lane, and they've spotted Jankos coming through, so they know exactly where each other are. Svenskun just trying to keep out of range of Jankos, and they do a little bit of a dance around. That blue buff is respawning in, so they don't want to leave that up too late and give it over to Jesus.
Yeah, I think that was the smart decision from SK not to pick a fight. You've also got to remember that if Overpower was able to move a little bit further north, he could have thrown down his Mega Inferno Bomb to get some additional damage and help out the rest of his teammates. So at the end of the day, SK play that one a little bit safe. They back away. If you look in the bottom lane, we'll see that Candy Pan and Rated have been stuck to that tower for quite a while. They've been shoving it up. You can see it on the mini-map, and they're getting some pretty good damage down on it right now.
Got a good CS lead as well. Does Candy Panda in that lane not being home, as he said, to buy just yet. They've just been sticking to that turret as Jesus is going to say, look, that's a pink ward. So the one that was put down after just a couple of minutes is finally going to be removed from the game, and that will give Svenskun a bit more room to play with.
So the thing that's nice about that is if you look at it, I think the pink ward lasted around about, call it 5.5, 6 minutes-ish. All of that knowledge, all of that time frame, it allowed Zazas to stay overextended. Now that there's no more vision, Zazas cannot play that risky. He has to be a little bit safer, has to play a little bit more defensively. He's still behind a tiny bit of CS against Jax, and that lane's been even. They've caught bandaged a little bit.
Good damage in there, but nothing really to lock it down. And that's the thing about Kale, that you're gonna have a slow in there, but you're not really gonna have a full lockup like the Annie or the Thresh will.
And at this point in time, because Candy Panda and Enrated have kept Salva and Vanda in the lane for the full 10 minutes, they're finally backing off to spend some money. Salva is a little bit down on CS. If Salva and Vanda had given up to the pressure earlier on, they would have lost their tower. You know, Candy Panda and Enrated have been sticking to it, and when Enrated puts down his Righteous Fury, he can push away quickly, he can also get in the tower. Jankos has Cyclone, he has Flash, they're going on Freddy.
Decoy comes in, there's a surprise once again, the knock-up from Zazas. Freddy surely going down from this, he puts the counter-strike in, but he's not got a Flash, he falls, and that is first blood. And look at his Flash cooldown, he's just coming off there. Unlucky for him, but Svenskron trying to turn things around. This is some good damage onto both of them. Jankos is low, Zazas of course does have that blood well. Svenskron decides not to follow on.
That was very good play from Jankos and Zazas. They came in on Freddy, and as soon as they got the second knock-up down, Freddy started to channel that counter-strike, and Zazas and Jankos both peeled away. They stepped out of range of that stun, and then came right back in, closing out the kill. So, first blood secured for ROCCAT, lands in the hands of Jankos on a jungler that you want to get a lead with. You want to build some items a little early on, and we'll see how Jankos actually spends his money.
Talking about that sustain earlier on with Enrated's heal is now a little bit harder for ROCCAT to deal with. We've got a Vamp Scepter now picked up from Candy Panda on top of that BS sword that both AD carries are currently carrying. So we'll see how that makes an impact on this lane. It's only a 20 CS lead for Candy Panda. You can see that the damage is a little bit hard to handle for Seller, and he's got no way of regenerating other than that potion.
Yeah, at this point in time, Candy Panda and Enrated are in complete control of the lane. I think the duo is stronger. It's got long-range poke, you've got a sustain lane, and you've also got, you know, the slow that can come down from Enrated. So if Lucian does get in range, and he uses his relentless pursuit, that is when Enrated wants to throw the Q down. He hasn't actually skilled it just yet, so not even needing it to win out the lane. It's just purely Candy Panda and Enrated outplaying Sullivan and Vanda, who have been struggling lately.
Almost the opposite story as well for SK. Candy Panda and Enrated have been so very good recently. This mid lane been fairly quiet, to be honest. The jungler's not really been near it. We've seen both of them picking up an Athene's Unholy Grail. The only real difference between the two builds right now is that the Boots of Speed have been picked up by Jesus, and Overpower shouldn't be too far behind on that front either. Top lane, we did see Jax actually picking up a Phage in there finally on top of that Vampiric Scepter, and the push up towards the Cutlass has already been completed by Zezas.
So at this point in time, SK Gaming are being given all the time they need to farm themselves up. Jesus is a player that likes to farm. He likes to get his items completed. He likes to get to a comfortable itemization point before fighting. And because ROCCAT are playing very defensively across most of this map, it's just giving SK's, you know, Jax and Evelyn and Lulu the time to get the key items. You see Sven is sniffing around this Zazas in the top lane, but it's very difficult. The wave is pushing against him.
And they importantly saw that pink ward, so Svenskron knows where not to go here if he wants to keep his position hidden. Actually starting to make his way over towards that red buff, and Jankos takes it. That was almost too close. If Evelyn would have been on that corner, he would have lost that red buff to Sven. 3
members of SK moved in to try and steal that buff away. You notice that Svenskron was hiding just out of sight in the red buff. Freddy immediately came down through the tri-bush. So if a fight had broken out, SK were in a position to react. I think with the Dragon not even being considered yet for either of these teams, the next time a jungler shows his face in the top lane is when a Dragon could get started.
Good damage once again by Freddy. Up there, we're going to see the blue buff being given over to Jesus once again. He's only 5 CS in the lead, but staying level at the moment with Overpower. This bottom lane is where the real discrepancy is, of course. 130 to 107 CS in favor of Candy Panda. It's been nothing but pressure in that bot lane. Nothing
at all. I wonder if Candy Panda and Rated have decided not to go for the tower kill, though. I think we'll keep our eyes on this lane just a little bit in these next couple of minutes, because Candy Panda and Rated, in my mind, have got better wave pushing power than Sullivan Vanda have to deal with it. So you see Candy Panda, he's moving, he's actually not trying to get in range of the tower. Yes, Thresh was zoning him, of course, but I think buying time just to keep farming up, get more powerful, get stronger, and then use their superior team fighting power is what SK are looking for. And in my opinion, they're setting themselves up very well for a strong mid-game showing.
And Svenskron is now moving in, and the one thing about having that tower there is a almost false sense of security for that duo lane. They have managed to land the hook on towards Enrated. Wukong's there, the box goes down. Svenskeren going to say hello any second, but Enrated caught out. He uses the intervention on himself. Jankos has gone very low. He's inside the brush and won't escape. Svenskeren picks up the kill.
The power of intervention, allowing SK to pick up their first kill. Enrated was so patient with that. He didn't waste it immediately, waited for his life to go low, popped it when all of the focus was still on him. ROCCAT invested so much on trying to kill Enrated that by the time intervention came down, there was nothing left to carry on in the fight. Vander's being pushed away. We do see that Jez is also caught out overpower. This is an uncontested dragon for SK.
Yeah, Mega Inferno Bomb is the only thing to go in. Svenskeren actually took low from that one, but in the end only really helps them finish off the dragon kill. First one of the game going over to SK Gaming, and therefore they have a gold lead. 1,400 or so gold is the lead that they're sat on.
Yeah, at this point, it's exactly what SK wanted to do. They were happy playing it passive, they were happy playing it slow. They've got champions that need some items first. You know, Sivir, you want to get us some itemization, and you want it grouped, really. You want Sivir with a couple of other members to get even more value out of that on the hunt. And thanks to this 2,000 gold lead and the dragon control, I wonder if this might be the go signal to start going for the towers, allowing SK to maybe push their bottom tower down and then start rotating. They can go for some very fast tower pushes thanks to having the Sivir and Lulu that's working her way towards this Lich Bane as well.
Diving Jack's never a good idea in my opinion, but we'll see how it works out for them because they are going to go for it. Zazza's tanking up all the damage. Freddy, I think he's going to fall. Jankos will finish him off, but Svenskeren there, he's got a red buff on. That's dangerous. That's bad news to Jankos. Good flash. Svenskeren gets it anyway. He's going to get the blood well out of Zazza's. Has he got the damage to finish off the kill straight away afterwards? Those hate spikes coming in, and it will be a double. Svenskeren once again in the right place at the right time.
Brilliant play. Svenskeren was able to respond. Unfortunately, Freddy gave up the death, but it allowed Svenskeren to grab 2 more kills. There's no pressure on the tower. And Jankos and Zazas, they're trying to make it happen. Jankos is trying to help Zazas out. It's just not working right now.
Damage into that bottom lane. Actually, Canyon Panda, I think, took larger of that damage. There's a culling being used by Celiver just to try and force them away from the turret. Canyon Panda still sat on that 30 CS lead. Both AD carries now with a Bloodthirster in hand. See the Berserker Groove's the real difference between them at this point. Well, there we see SK again just push them straight back onto the tower. The tower which is so very low. We are going to see Jesus coming around the side. Celiver's in trouble here. There's the damage coming out. The turret goes down. Celiver's not escaping, and it will in fact be Jesus that gets the kill.
So I got the wrong direction backwards. I thought Candy Panda was going to go mid after the tower. It turns out Jesus was coming bottom to get the tower. SK once again using the power of their team fights, the mobility and the speed in conjunction with the early game lane win that they got. Now Overpower's in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, Jesus actually, that is a great satchel charge. Jankos goes in, Jesus flashes away, Overpower is going to go low. Svenskeren doesn't have the mana to really chase in for this one. There's the Mega Inferno Bomb. Can't finish off though. 3 men low in mid, crazy fight again.
The rest of SK are going to set their sights on this tower. We did see Freddy coming from the top lane, and we'll see if Svenskeren and Jesus stick around. Going to decide against it for the time being, and thought they may have gone in for it. Instead, going to back away, spend some of the gold that they've earned. So the first tower falls in the bottom lane, and I do think that Candy Panda and Rated are now going to move to middle and then top to try get the towers down. You can see they've already set themselves up in this lane. Jesus is stuck around. He hasn't even decided to back just yet.
It took a long time to get there though. Allowed Celiver to get back in position. Jankos going to head top. Or is he? Is he just going to farm? Freddy diving in there on towards Zazas, and that's how it's been here. As soon as the counter-strike starts swirling, we see Zazas just jumping away. They're going to tank up this turret. That will be the first of the game for ROCCAT as they bring it back level on that front. Freddy needs to be a little bit careful about this one. He's going to have some pressure on him in just a second. There's the knock-up. This is a finisher. No way Freddy's going to escape that. Jankos gets the kill.
Yeah, I actually think it was a red buff tick. Oh no, it may have been the decoy. Jankos moved away. He tried to let the kill credit go over to Zazas, and unfortunately, he got that one. So Zazas 0-1-3, got 3 assists. He's playing Aatrox. He's got a different build to what we've seen from Darren in the previous game. He's gone for Blade of the Ruined King as his first item, as opposed to that Ravenous Hydra. he's struggling to deal with Jax. Even though Jax is 0-3-1, it is because of a multitude of ganks from Jankos coming into that lane. CS, Freddy, has died 3 times. He is still even with Xaxus, and he's winning out. Every time we look at those one-on-ones, it's Freddy that's forcing Xaxus backwards. So we'll see if Xaxus can start to scale himself a little bit more. He's got some armor, which will help him deal with at least some of Freddy's damage.
Blue buff there going to overpower. That bottom lane, of course, was already removed of its outer turret, but Candy Panda and Rated want the farm. They've got a 40 CS lead, and they've built up on that side of things, doing really, really well on getting the farm their way. Zeal is now added in as well for Candy Panda on top of his Bloodthirster.
Yeah, at this point in time, Candy Panda and Rated opting to push the bottom lane, as opposed to going for the likes of a tower in the mid lane. What we've seen SK do in the past is when Dragon is coming up, they have focused Dragon into tower or tower into Dragon. And we'll see if that is a possibility for them. It is still 1 minute 10 away. You can see Jezz trying to apply some focus, pull members of ROCCAT to the top lane, and then maybe go bottom. Right now, there's some pretty good wave clear there from Xaxus.
Evelyn is headed top as well, but spotted out by that pesky pink ward that's been appearing over and over again as Jankos does take some good damage there from Candy Panda, who's, to be honest, a massive threat already, even just 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, Candy Panda is he's got the makings of most likely going to be that static shiv. He's got some very good long-range damage. He's going to have very good wave clear. And you see him, they grouped up on that tower, just like we talked about. Going to go for the tower. If they can get the tower, great. Then they can go Dragon. Alternatively, you can just, swap pull members towards the tower and then get good positioning on Dragon. So the 2v2 in this top lane is Svenskeren is doing out a ward. Jankos may jump in on him. No knockup.
Yeah, no knockup. Did get the slow in the end, but not going to be able to chase that one on through. Freddy, meanwhile, just continues to rack up that farm, staying very even to that of Jankos, despite the fact that he's gone down those 3 times. This mid lane now is going to be a bit more focused as well, with that bottom lane turret already gone. Only going to be able to challenge for the outer mid turret. We do have Candy Panda still in the bottom lane, continuing to push though.
It's so difficult to get to the tower when you're dealing with the Ziggs because of the wave clear of his bouncing bombs and the Hextech minefield. Even though the minefield was changed a little bit now in 4.2, which is what TR is on right now, it's still very, very effective. And you can see the rest of SK, they can't afford to back now because the Dragon is up. ROCCAT is making a small move towards the pit, and SK is just trying to prevent them. They're trying to hold on to the entrance, basically, preventing ROCCAT getting in there.
Svenskeren down there all on his own. Stood there as... Okay guys, are you going to come and help me with this one? There's no wards on it, so we can do it if you want, if you fancy that one. They're a little bit scared, I think, of ROCCAT making a positional play on them if they do head down towards that Dragon. In fact, ROCCAT now have got wards of their own on that bottom side, or at least just went in there to check things out. But Svenskeren setting up a trap to maybe have a go at Celiver.
Yeah, I think he's seen Jankos going around the side. This is a little bit risky. SK are somewhat split up, so they need to make sure they find a target and pick them off quite quickly. It's also a lot more passive from SK. They've had the opportunity to push the tower, they've had the opportunity to go for Dragon, and they're not risking it. I think they don't want to get caught out by a multiple man. Oh, they've caught Svenskeren. Van doesn't want it. I think SK don't want to get caught out by multiple man Cyclone plus Mega Inferno Bomb. There is the potential for a team fight to go wrong, and they are only 1,500 gold ahead, so it's not like they can really completely dictate the flow of the game because they don't have as much of a lead as it maybe looks like.
Back into this top lane, you see that 2 out of 3 parts now of the Trinity Force is done with that Cutlass for Freddy, so kind of split in 2 directions on this one. Finally, we see SK Gaming making a move. That's because Overpower and Vander have recalled into base. They know that this is an absolute freebie for them.
There's nothing ROCCAT could have done. I mean, all of that pestering and posturing in the river, landing the hook onto Svenskeren. I mean, ROCCAT would have been well aware that that was happening, but they didn't have Xaxus with them. I wonder if that's just saying we're not comfortable contesting. So SK secure themselves a Dragon completely uncontested, grab themselves another gold lead, and a big power spike has been completed. That Lichbane is now secured, sitting in the hands of Jezz 20 seconds ago. And that's really the big spike for Lulus. When they've got Athena's and Holy Grail and Lichbane, they've got a lot of mobility, they've got a lot of damage that can come down thanks to the Little Answers and that Lichbane proc. And Jezz has already tried to roam a couple of times, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him moving around the map just a little bit more.
And the blasting one on top of that, just a bit more power. You see again, Jankos hanging around. Is he gonna be able to bait Steady Freddy that far up the lane to get a gank off? Freddy's not had the best of luck, I think we can safely say up there. 3 deaths to his name, but I don't think he's going to be lured into this one. Well, even if he is, he might have a bit of a reply with Svenskeren now headed up as well.
Yeah, ROCCAT have to be very quick. If they want to make this happen, they need to go super, super fast. Deciding not right now, just waiting for the moment. I think Freddy, he's doing very well considering how many times Jankos has ganked him. I mean, this is the 4th or the 5th time this game. 3 of them have resulted in kills. He's still held onto his tower, mostly because Svenskeren has responded well. I think every time they've got a kill on Jankos, Svenskeren's been there to push Xaxis and Jankos away. So, good covering play, I think, from SK's jungler. But as it stands, that ends up fizzling. Boomerang Blade, not this time.
Not this time. Overpower will get that one. So, we're at that lull phase where both teams trying to really figure out how they can make an opening for themselves on this one. Svenskeren has killed that pink ward about 4,000 times by now. That's a good amount of gold invested, to be honest, by ROCCAT into that one single ward. SK now have finally a minion wave pushing up this mid lane, and they're going to take the tower.
So finally managing to secure it. Overpower backed away to go for the blue buff. That was the opening that SK needed to get on the tower. So they've got the 2nd tower down now. They got access to both the red and blue buffs. And the way SK has been playing, it's been very passive. This could be an opening for them to get some vision control and maybe start challenging for future buffs as a group or as a team.
You know, it's bad news though when Ajax goes back and finishes Trinity Force and Blade of the Ruin King within one shopping trip.
Xaxis is in trouble.
I hope that Xaxis checks his items next time that all comes down. There's a slow actually coming in towards him. Svenskeren is there as well. Use the Blade of the Ruin King, steals all that movement speed and will recall under the safety of his own tower.
Now, if SK want to stay grouped, they could once again shove this tower down. It's been a lot slower. Candy Pan has been split pushing on Siva. He's not doing it on Vayne this time around. He's been left basically alone in the lane. The rest of ROCCAT have come to defend, so they're going to hold onto this tower for a little bit longer. Enrated is with Candy Pan in the mid lane. They're trying to out-shove Overpower on Ziggs.
Yeah, but as we said before, minefield, bouncing bombs coming in, not a lot to really talk about. That is Ziggs being Ziggs, clearing out those waves quicker than you can really get any damage down onto the turret. One thing that SK have started to do a little bit now that that outer ring of towers is down is get some vision inside of ROCCAT's jungle, but ROCCAT continue with these pink wards. They have bought a lot of pink wards so far this game.
SK are just making it abundantly clear that they are very comfortable going into the very late game. I actually think that SK's team composition is going to outscale that of ROCCAT's, and I feel like ROCCAT, they're 3,000 gold down now. They need to find some plays. They need to find an area where they can force a fight or force an objective. The one tower they've secured was in the mid lane, and it's not enough right now. I think 26 minutes in, they've ganked Freddy. That's the only accomplishment that ROCCAT can really claim to have succeeded in. Whereas SK, they're dictating the tempo of the lanes. They're dictating where ROCCAT defends, and SK are controlling where they're pushing.
They've ganked Freddy. They've killed him 2 times, but it's half an hour in now, and he's got his Trinity Force, he's got his Blade of the Ruin King, and he's going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage if you don't watch out. And specifically to those turrets, the best sound in the world, if the Jax is on your team at least, is when he really gets stuck into those. And looks like both him and Xaxis are quite happy to just say, you know what, let's just get on our sides of that top lane and palm up a little bit more.
Yeah, one of the things that we're seeing about that top lane match between Freddy and Xaxis is that potentially ROCCAT's game plan was to get Xaxis fed, get Xaxis split pushing. And it could explain why Jankos is ganking there. Unfortunately, Xaxis isn't actually strong enough to win those 1v1s. He needs the help. I mean, let's see the first duel. The moment Freddy even hints at a fight, Xaxis just says nope and walks away. And if ROCCAT's game plan was to split push with Aatrox top and the rest in the middle, it's not working. I mean, look at that. Freddy just a couple of auto attacks and empowered, and Xaxis is backing away.
Blade of the Ruin King, but he's going to walk straight in towards Svenskeren, but his Aatrox has got to jump. That means he can get away, and is in fact going to recall. However, that pressure is going to open up the final outer turret here for SK Gaming. Freddy will hammer that one down, but Enrated gets hooked. This is bad news for them. Intervention is going to be used. Wild Growth was available and will be used for Jesus. There is a culling coming out. Candy Panda actually having a good go at Celiva. He may just finish him off. No, not quite. He took the Lantern home.
Yeah, manages to get out, so Celiva gets out cleanly. Candy Panda still had barrier, and we actually seen Enraged was able to get away without using that intervention. So I think that was good play. Now Jankos is the target.
Oh, and he's actually going to get stunned up there ever so briefly. Where's the finisher there? And it's Svenskeren now on a rampage. The Sazas jumps back in. The rest of his team is there. Can they finish off Svenskeren? We see the Randuins pop from both sides. Svenskeren has to flash. Where's the W? He needs the W to get away from this one. Actually, he's sticking around and still doing a lot of damage. Goes straight in. There's the knock-up and the shutdown for Zazas.
The rest of SK is pushing the mid lane, though. They've got the inner turret. Candy Panda's in the bottom lane. They've lost one member of their team, but they have the potential to grab 2 towers. That was very smart play from Svenskeren.
Got shut down. His perfect score is gone, but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Mid inner turret, bottom inner turret, dragon as well.
Massive swing. This is even bigger. SK Gaming get away from that fight where Enrated was caught. Whether or not that hook landed intentionally, what I mean is, did Enrated bait it? Thank you. Let's start this again. Did Enrated bait the hook or not? Regardless, they get away. Candy Panda straight up challenged Salivar. In the 1v1, Salivar was forced to lantern away to safety. Then the rest of SK were pushing the towers. Dragon is secured, Svenskeren and Freddy hold ROCCAT busy in the top lane, and they get themselves a 7,000 gold lead now. They extended that small 2k gold lead by 5,000 gold over that last 2 minutes of play.
Look how much they've got to spend as well. 2,500 gold for Freddy. And he's already got his Trinity Force and Blade of the Ruined King. He's going a little tankier just after that. I wonder if he'll go straight up to the likes of that Guardian Angel. We also have that Rabadon's Death Cap for Jesus now as well, although I believe that was picked up slightly earlier than what I'm mentioning it now. But the point is, he's got a lot of damage along with that Lich Bane.
Yeah, and also with that last swing of gold, Enrated's been able to finish his Talisman of Ascension. So not only do they have all of this mobility, you know, from their champions and their abilities, they've now got the itemization to work with as well. And you've seen how effective it was for Gambit in the previous game. You know, when Gambit were running with their Siva, you know, they had Wukong and Aatrox, but the mobility power of just starting fights at an instant and catching Alliance out was very good for them. SK have got those tools available. We have to see if they want to use it, though, because thus far in the game, it has really been about the lanes and the minions more than anything else. It actually has been a very passive game.
And I was asking about the Guardian Angel, and I guess I got that one confirmed because Freddy went back and he picked up a Guardian Angel outright for him there as well. And yeah, that is a scary Jax. As we said, 3 kills. He had a horrible time in lane. I say a horrible time in lane. He died a lot in lane, but he stayed even with Zazas despite all that, as Jankos here is actually going to be decoying out. So this one actually might take more damage than he was expecting, or maybe not, because he's got 4 kills and he's really tanky.
Yeah, and the heal came down from Enrated, got in the movement speed, so he's actually able to sidestep Vander's hook as well. And again, just SK have got all the tools now. The vision game is what's going to help them win this one up. Salivar is 1.5 miles away in that bottom lane. The rest of SK are denying vision at the red buff. And thanks to this damage that Freddy and Sven have built up, they can actually just 2-man this Baron. The rest of SK can peel, and it looks like ROCCAT are none the wiser. What are they going to do anyway? They've got that defensive line set up. They're pushing mid lane out. They've pushed the bottom lane out. Salivar is down there. Vander is actually going to spot it, so they know that that's going on. There's the hook. Will it follow through? Mega Inferno? No, it doesn't get stolen. SK Gaming sneak a Baron in after controlling all the dragons, and now Jankos is going to go down. Candy Panda gets that one. This is disaster surely for ROCCAT. There's the slow one towards Zazas. Jesus comes from around the side, and there is the Bloodwell coming in. A good ultimate over the side from Salivar, but Vander will lose his life. Jesus shields himself and somehow gets away. Salivar needed just one more auto attack before that. That'll be a couple of kills. Baron for SK. They're going to surely push through here. They've got all the damage they need to get on this inhibitor. The heals are coming down. Those big shields from Jesus are available as well. SK are on the inhibitor turret. Overpower's going to have to do a monumental task. Keep it caught!
Yeah, they knocked both Candy Panda and Svenskeren forward from that one. The turret is going to go down. The inhib will fall as well. 3 men are dead. Jankos is up in 10. Vander will be up in 10. Overpower's out for a good 3/4 of a minute as Jesus may lose out. No, wild growth on himself. They're going to try and win it here. Are they going to continue to be ROCCAT's kryptonite? It looks like it. Freddy and the rest of SK Gaming push on towards the Nexus and go 3-0 against ROCCAT in the spring split of the European LCS. Another brilliant performance from SK.
Completely controlled and calculated. SK Gaming went back to a playstyle that helped them secure all those wins a couple of weeks ago. They didn't take risks. They only played aggressive when they had reason to. And in this game, yes, it was a lot slower, but everything that SK did was for a reason and for a purpose. They had an objective in mind, and they played to secure it.
Brilliant, brilliant win there for SK Gaming. That puts them in a decent position. 2 for 1 now here in Super Week. Of course, they've got their old nemesis, Fnatic, to face later on in the day as we see another episode of El Clasico. But this one was another sweet one. And I have to say, for ROCCAT, sometimes you get into this position where you cannot beat a certain team, where you know, in England we call it a bogey team and use other